you love ball like I do, After Dark's a must listen.
That's where I go to get my hoops fix.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Hello and welcome to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live here on YouTube, streaming over on X, and we are simulcast right now on Sirius XM Channel 84. My name is Rob Dauster. I'm joined tonight by Matt McCall and Tyler Hansbrough, a couple of guys that have won national championships. And there was a battle tonight in Storrs, Connecticut, between two head coaches with a couple of national championships to their own name. Dan Hurley and Rick Pitino facing off in one of the biggest Big East games that I can remember in a long time in terms of the hype, in terms of kind of the buildup. You got Rick Pitino, maybe the greatest coach of all time. You got Dan Hurley, self-proclaimed greatest coach in college basketball today. And UConn jumps out to a 26-12 lead, but the Johnnies dial up that defense, find a way to win on the road in Gamble Pavilion. The second straight big win over one of the big targets in the Big East that they've gotten, 68-62 behind 21 points from my Big East Player of the Year, leader in the clubhouse, RJ Lewis. Matt McCall, what do you make of St. John's win in Gamble Pavilion tonight?
First of all, when on the intro here, when you said that me and Tyler Hansbrough have both won national championships, let's just be honest, I was a part of a national championship. Two of them, he won a national championship. So let's just start there and let's just clear that air. He had a lot more to do with his national championship than I did. You know what? It was a defensive clinic. And you're sitting there, and I'm watching the St. John's game, and I'm saying to myself, can you imagine, and this is not what Coach Pitino wants anybody to say, and he's told the media this, but can you imagine if they were even a halfway decent three-point shooting team, how good this team would be? You know, you spend so much time as a coach trying to scheme on pick and rolls because that's what everybody's guarding, or that's what everybody's running on offense. Pick and rolls, dribble handoffs, pick and rolls. Well, how are we going to guard them? Are we going to slide through? Are we going to ice? Or you know what St. John's does? They guard the ball, and that's all that matters. And they completely blow it up. There's no screen. Even when, you know, UConn was setting screens or setting ball screens on the wing or wherever they may be, St. John's guards were so physical that they pressed up so hard on the ball and the screen never even got set. So they don't have to worry about, oh, man, we're in drop coverage or we're trying to ice this or we're doing this. No, they just are so physical and they play so hard defensively. They don't have to worry about what they're doing on ball screens. They don't have to worry about what they're doing on dribble handoffs. They're not a team that's just going to go out there and switch everything. And UConn at times took advantage of that and ran some slips, and you saw them get some layups and some dunks when they did that on some screening actions. But just the physicality of this St. John's team with how they guard, just guarding the ball. It's almost a lost art in basketball, guarding the ball, keeping the ball out of the lane. And St. John's is arguably the best team in the country at that. I mean, to go on the road in that kind of environment and find a way to win the game, they just solidified themselves as the best team in the Big East. That's what they did tonight. And we know UConn is still trying to get healthy. Where's McNeely at? You know, he's coming off that. It's funny. It's like when you think about the fact that him and Cooper Flagg were on the same high school team last year is really remarkable when you watch them play. But it's just, you know, the St. John's proved it tonight. You know, and look, everybody wants to see this matchup again. We're going to get it. We're going to get it in the Garden in a couple weeks, and hopefully we get it a third time in the Big East tournament because they are the two creams of the crop in this league. And it was a fun battle. It was a grinded out battle, and the fact that St. John's was able to get it, I mean, you have to hang their hat on their defense. If they somehow, you know, could kick in a three here or there. You know, and look, Coach Hurley's coming off back-to-back national championships. So I'm not at all being critical of him. But it's like, does a team that plays against this St. John's team ever just pack it in and dare them to shoot threes? Because there was that stretch late in the second half where St. John's took a couple threes, and you're like, what, why are you shooting these? Like, well, they're not going in. Like I thought Coach Pitino was going to call a timeout and says the next person that shoots a three comes sit next to me. No, we're not doing that. Obviously, he's going to give his guys freedom and not do that. But is there a team that plays against this team that just completely packs it in? Everybody's underneath the 3-point line, and we're just going to dare them to shoot. But the defense, to me, is what is so impressive about this team.
It's like Tony Bennett's pack line, right? Instead of having one guy guarding the ball and everybody else in the pack, it's like everybody's just in the pack. Just go stand in the
Just get in
paint.
the
Don't
lane.
leave the lane. I
Tear
coach
'em.
I coached my son's 8U basketball team last year, and the rule was you can't play defense outside of the paint. Is that what you're saying we got to do, Tyler? Is it we got to go throw some
Pack
8-year-old
'em all in.
basketball rules at St. John's this year?
I absolutely hate zones. It was effective, but a part of the reason why I like this St. John's team so much is because they don't rely solely on the 3-point shot. The Lewis kid, he had 21 tonight. Didn't have a lot of threes. Didn't have a three all night, actually. But to me, when I watched the game, I really felt like St. John's secured the game late in the second. I think it was may have been that 4-minute mark or somewhere. UConn just couldn't get a bucket. They really struggled with St. John's pressure. They turned the ball over. They were trying to get something at the basket. They just couldn't get anything easy because of St. John's pressure. But right now, St. John's is clicking on all cylinders. They are a team that is peaking. When I look at UConn, they're a little bit disconnected. They're not quite peaking. McNeely's coming back from injury. Caravan's struggling with his shot right now. The one player for UConn who I think is playing very well is the Terrace Reed kid. I think he's dominating the paint. He's giving him inside looks. I just feel like when this game happens in the Garden, this is going to be a totally different matchup. And the reason I say that is maybe Caravan finds his confidence. And then McNeely's, he's not going to be just coming back off an injury. And I think that they'll look at this film and make some adjustments like Hurley will. And I'm looking forward to this next matchup.
Yeah, we'll get to the UConn side of things here in a second because I do have some questions for you guys about what you can do if you have a player or are a player in the situation and kind of battling through what Caravan's battling through right now. But I want to ask you this, Matt. Like, I feel like what Pitino is doing right now is kind of, laughing in the face of analytics and laughing in the face of what modern basketball is. And they came into tonight shooting 23% from three in the Big East, which is by far the lowest in the Big East Conference. And they were 4 for 21 tonight. And they just improved to 12-1 in the Big East, coming off of a win against Marquette and coming off of a win in Gamble Pavilion against UConn. When UConn got out to a 26-12 lead, like they are just out there winning with defense. And it's kind of like what we've seen Houston do, but on steroids. And they're just going to say, look, you're not going to score on us. We're going to fight as much as we can. We're going to get enough offensive rebounds. We're going to keep it close. And Kadari Richmond and RJ Lewis are two of the best, if not the two best closers in all of college basketball right now. I swear to God, I don't have any data on this. I don't have any actual stats. This is all anecdotal. But both of those guys shoot 100% from the floor if there's 5 minutes or less left in the game, and you're saying to yourself, ooh, that's a big shot. You know what's going in with those two. And I think Rick has kind of found something with that. We're just going to create extra possessions through turnovers and offensive rebounds. We're going to score enough twos to keep ourselves in the game, and we're going to make every shot down the stretch. And that's a pretty good strategy to win basketball games, Matt.
Look, I think we've all said this about, first of all, Coach Hurley in being one of the best offensive coaches in the entire country. And this St. John's team forced them into 22 turnovers tonight. And it's blowing up actions. It's blowing up dribble handoffs. And Kadari Richmond and RJ Lewis had a lot to do with that. There's no question about it. The physicality on the wings where UConn was struggling, even initiating offense through the wing. You know, we've seen these legends. And I got asked this the other day on Sirius XM, like, who did I think was the next legendary coach to walk away? You know, we saw, Tyler's coach, Coach Roy Williams, kind of started the trend. Then it was Jay Wright. Then it was Mike Krzyzewski. Then this year we've seen, Leonard Hamilton, Jim Larinaga, all these guys walking away. Tony Bennett. We've seen them all walk away. Do you know what Rick Pitino did right when the Louisville situation happened? He went overseas. And coached. Like he transfer portal, NIL. The guy just loves coaching the game of basketball. And it doesn't matter where he's doing it at. He's going to win, and his team is going to play inspired. He's going to hold every single person within that program accountable for whatever they're doing. And there is a standard, and that team plays to that standard. And that was evident tonight, especially late in the game. when UConn was struggling on offense, they're turning it over, and the turnovers coming down the stretch were key. You know, I mean, that was the difference in the game. You know, Hassan Diarra's turnover late in the game. I mean, those were the keys for the St. John's team to be able to find this. But it's the standard that he creates and holds everybody to that standard is the most impressive thing. He's not complaining about anything. You know, he comes back from coaching overseas, then he goes to Iona, and now he's at St. John's. It was only a matter of time. I think we were all shocked last year that he wasn't in the NCAA tournament because it's Rick Pitino.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bottom line, we were all shocked. But now, I mean, we're not talking about this team as just getting into the NCAA tournament. We're talking about a team that has a legit shot to win the Big East. And if they defend like that, and if they make 2 more threes, this team can get to a Final Four.
Yeah, that's the question I wanted to ask both of you guys, and we got your opinion on now, Matt. Can a team that shoots this poorly from 3, Tyler, make it to the Final Four? Can they make a run? Can they do – look, you bring Pitino in. You're not just bringing Pitino in to win a Big East title. You're not just bringing Pitino in to go into UConn and win a game, right? You're bringing him in for Final Fours. You're bringing him for national championships. You're bringing him in for banners. That's what he does. He's as good as he is in the regular season. He makes runs in the dance. Can this team that shoots it the way that they shoot it make a run in March?
Absolutely. I hate analytics just like you, Dauster. And you know what they talk about in the tournament. Hey, listen, it's true. It's true. You look at analytics, no one ever talks about defense and rebounding. Tom Izzo, he's a proven commodity. He's on top of the Big Ten right now. They're winning. They don't shoot threes. Houston doesn't shoot threes. They play hard. They rebound. They play defense. Absolutely. St. John's, their physicality, their defense, and the way they get out and transition and run as well, just going to promote easy buckets. And when it comes to the tournament, you've got to be able to win games when you're not making shots. You're going to be playing in new arenas. The gym's going to be a little bit different. It's a different feel, neutral court. Guys aren't going to shoot it the way they do at home or away against, opponents that they've been into that arena. It's going to be adjustments. So you have to be able to win ugly, and St. John's can do that.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. Look, they're gonna force you to play a close game. You have to have elite ball handling and multiple guys that can do it because they are so good pressuring the ball. And they're going to come up with a scheme that can mess you. Like what they did tonight against UConn. I've watched every UConn game for the last 3 or 4 years doing this, right? And
really,
yeah, I have. Believe it or not, it might be shocking to some of you guys,
idea.
but
I had no idea.
I've seen a lot of schemes that teams have thrown at UConn to try to blow up what they run offensively. And this was the first time I've seen someone do what St. John's did tonight, which is where the only screens or interchanges that they switched were the end of the action. So like UConn runs all of their stuff, and then as soon as solo ball's running off of the pin down, off of a big guy, that's when Zuby Ejiofor jumps out and blows up the screen. As soon as they get to the dribble handoff where they're trying to get the shot out of the action, that's where they switch and blow up that dribble handoff or that ball screen. And that takes a defense that really understands the scouting report, that understands what the other teams are doing, and that is locked in and connected, because it's very easy to get discombobulated on that. And the other thing that they were doing is the weak side defender was standing under the basket. So they were basically tagging to take away all of those slips. UConn got it twice. One time it was a Terrace Reed dunk, and the other time there was a foul.
Yep.
But they basically took away the ability of UConn to make those slips and just kind of dared them to say, look, we're going to have a 6'7" dude pressuring the hell out of you coming off of this ball screen. Go ahead and try to throw that ball to the opposite side corner. I dare you to try to make that pass. You're not making that pass. It's not going to work. And I don't know if this is something that is replicable, Matt. Like that, I think that with it's this scheme, it's the bodies that they have, and it's the coach that they have that can come up with something like that. Tell me, is that I don't know that I've ever seen a scheme like that specifically before.
Well, it goes back to what I was saying, right? Like we spend so much time as coaches like worrying about how we're guarding things. Like, okay, what are our principles on dribble handoffs? Oh, well, we want to slide through. All right, what are our principles on side pick and rolls? Okay, now we're playing against a shooting 5-man. So what are we going to do? Are we going to switch? Are we going to fully rotate? Like, how are we guarding these things? We spend so much time, and there's just the lost art of just guarding the ball and being physical on the ball. And Dauster, you just said it. They didn't switch, and even dribble handoffs, Guards are fighting through and keeping their it's like man on man. Like, this is like all these coaches you hear, this is a street fight, this is a rock fight, this is one-on-one. Like, no, that's what this was. This is a street fight, this is a rock fight. And when you look at how St. John's guards just guarded the ball, that was the thing that stood out the most in this game. Late clock, something breaks down and you have to switch. They didn't switch because, hey, we're switching 1 through 4. That's what we're doing because we're trying to take all these threes away. No, you better guard the ball. I'm going to hold you accountable to guarding the ball. And if you're not going to guard the ball, if you're not going to blow these actions up, guess what? Someone else will. That's what Coach Pitino does. That's what he does. They're not just going out here, okay, we're switching 1 through 4. We're going to switch dribble handoffs. We're going to switch any back screen 1 through 4. We're going to switch any pick and rolls 1 through 4. No, guard the ball. Switch out of necessity. Don't switch because this is what we do.
I just want to give a quick shout out to Pitino because it feels like he is enjoying this run more than he has in the past. He was asked in his presser tonight after the game by our friend from the New York Post, Zach Braziller. The question was, if I had told you in November you'd be 21-3 right now, what would you have said? And Pitino's answer was, quote, I would have said, how the F did we lose that one Baylor game? Which is just the quintessential Rick Pitino answer right there. I want to pivot this a little bit towards the UConn angle because there's some things that I do want to talk about. McNeely coming back didn't look like he was 100%, but kind of figured it out a little bit in the second half. Looks like he got up to speed. Sandiara very clearly not 100%. He's battling through a knee thing, and he looks like he's moving about 60% of what he should be. But the biggest thing to me, Tyler, you kind of touched on this a little bit. Alex Karaban is a shell of who he was at the start of the season, a shell of who we expected him to be. And to me, it looks like a situation where he's completely lost any and all confidence. So Tyler, from the player's perspective, and McCall, when he's done, I want your take on this too as a coach. Like, what do you do when you've lost the belief in your ability? Like, this guy is an NBA caliber basketball player, right? And when you lose the ability to believe that, like, you're like, how do you fix that? How do you solve? I feel like everything right now is just in between his ears. It's like, dude, I want to play him all of the highlights of every made shot that he's made in his entire career. Just force him to sit down and watch it and be like, dude, you're good. This is what you can do. Go out there and do it.
Yeah, and sometimes as players we put too much pressure on ourselves to make home run plays, or you have a bad game, you're trying to make up for everything in a short amount of time. I kind of watched it and I found myself kind of feeling bad for him because it feels like he's just putting so much pressure on himself out there and he's overthinking. Sometimes you've got to lose yourself in the game. And what I mean by that is you've got to find ways to impact the game besides scoring. I feel like he's putting too much emphasis on his shooting, and he is a heck of a shooter. When he's knocking down shots from the outside and he's getting it going and he's hunting shots, putting himself in position to score, UConn is a totally different team. I didn't see that from him tonight. I saw him pass up some open looks. He needs to shoot it regardless. And when I'm going through little droughts like this, or, I'm not playing well, sometimes I'll go back and I'll pull up some games where I really played well, kind of like a highlight tape, just so I can look and reassure myself, get my confidence up, know what I'm doing when I'm playing well. What am I doing different now? How am I hunting my shots? How am I putting myself in position to score? And also, I always say, when your shots aren't falling, try to get easy buckets, try to get layups, get out run, or try to get to the free throw line. Once you get some easy buckets going, you see the ball go in the basket, then things start to open up for you. The basket gets much bigger. And there's another saying I used to tell myself, scared money don't make money. When you go out there, play with confidence, regardless of whether it goes in or out, shoot it with confidence and shoot your shot and play your game.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Tyler on that. I think from a coaching standpoint, look, this guy's part of 2 national championships, a huge part of it. And I think sometimes in sports, expectations are the hardest things to deal with. So coming back on this season with everything that they lost last season, it's on him, right? And everyone's just expecting him to go out there and be this NBA player and be this lottery pick. And, Coach Hurley's had his back, and rightfully so. There's no question about it. When you look at the points per game this year, he's averaging more points per game this year than he ever has in his entire career. But his shooting percentage from the 3-point line is down. But his head coach has his back. And to Tyler's point, it's one of those things where just, hey, man, go back and look at who you were the last couple of years when the shots were falling, when they were going down. But this season was going to be harder for him. It was because of what they lost. You're talking about a team that's coming off back-to-back national championships, and he was a huge piece of that. But they lost NBA players, like lottery picks, guys that are having impacts in NBA games. So it was going to be more difficult for him. He's just got to go out there and be who he is. This team has to continue to get healthy, and they're going to be fine. I mean, none of us would be surprised if this is a second weekend NCAA tournament team. None of us would be. And he's going to be a huge part of that. But this season was going to be harder for him because of everything that they lost. It was. Because now, guess what? He's the number one guy on the scouting report. Oh, Liam McNeely's out? Like, here we go. Like, now he's even more number one on the scouting report. I get Ball. Ball's terrific. He's outstanding. But he's the guy. He is the guy that teams are going to key in on and make life difficult for it. We have to take this guy out of the game. So those open threes that have been there the last couple of years for him, they're not there anymore because teams are taking up the airspace to take him out of the game.
Yep, I think to your point, the hardest thing that he's had to deal with is McNeely not being there because what Alex is at his best is the finisher of these actions, right? Where you get McNeely coming down off of a DHO, you got the 2-on-1, and if there's help, boom, he sprays it out, and Alex bangs that three in the corner, or he runs off the screen and bangs a three, right? When you're asking him to be the guy that kind of has to get into the lane and make something happen, you're asking him to do something that he's not suited to as the number one player on the scouting report, and it's just it's tough, and I think that not having McNeely there, he started struggling a little bit, and now it's just gotten to his head, and it's snowballed, and it's built up to the point that he's now 1 for his last 15 from three as a guy that is an NBA three-point shooter. We got to move on because the number 7 team in the country, and look, Purdue is the number 7 team in the country, guys. Braden Smith, they beat USC 90-72. It was a little bit of a blowout. There's really not that much exciting to talk about from the actual game beyond the fact that Braden Smith looks like the best point guard in America and is like sneakily, Tyler, putting himself in the conversation for National Player of the Year. I still think that he's third on that list, but it's not third by a huge gap. He's been as impactful as Cooper Flagg. Over the last 6 weeks, he's been as impactful as Cooper Flagg and John Ibram. I have no problem saying that. Purdue is now 11-2 in the Big Ten. They have won 10 of their last 11 games. The sole loss was a 3-point loss at home to Ohio State after they came back from the West Coast. They get Michigan on the road on Tuesday, Wisconsin at home, and then at Michigan State next Tuesday. So we're going to know a whole lot more about where Purdue is in these next 3 games. But I'm sitting here right now, Tyler, and I'm saying Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country. And if you have the best point guard in the country, you are good enough to make a Final Four.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. He's been unbelievable. And the one thing that Braden Smith does is he makes everyone around him better. When you look at Trey Kaufman-Renn, he's having an unbelievable year. And a big part of that is Braden Smith's ability to pass and put him in position. He is commanding Purdue. He puts everybody in their spots. He's hyping up the crowd. And his development is like a little bit of surprise because I didn't know his ceiling was this high. And I don't even think he's reached his ceiling. He's knocking down shots. Fletcher Lawyer, this whole team is contributing to his growth and what he's bringing to Purdue. And Purdue is just kind of one of those teams that's kind of flown under the radar. They win the Big Ten, they're going to be talking about maybe them being a 1 seed when it's all said and done. And that's going to be a little surprise. Matt Painter's done an unbelievable job, but I'm with you. Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country this year so far.
Yeah, Matt, how much fun do you think Payton is having coaching this dude?
I mean, look, man, they scored 90 points today and shot 23% from the three-point line. Like, think about that. 90, like, you think, okay, they hung 90 on him, and it's like, hey, man, it must have been banging them home from three. Like, it's going up, it's going in. And they scored 90, shot 23%. I've said this before, and I will say it again. 2 years ago, when they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, there was a lot of pressure put on those two guards. And everyone was saying it was not Zach Edey, back-to-back National Player of the Year. The reason that they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament was because of Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. And the fact that those two guys have been able to block all that noise out, get to a national championship game last season, and then everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? They're going to lose Zach Edey. Oh, they're not going to be the same. They're going to have a down year. We had some people on the field of 68 that counted this team out. I remember our Hot Take show back at ACC Media Day. I remember, I'm not calling people out, but I remember people saying that this team's not even close to as good. They're not going to get to a Final Four. They have no chance. They have no chance to win a Big Ten championship. They're just average. They'll be an average team at best this year. I remember some people in our group, our family, we don't have to call anybody out, but I remember some people counting this team out. And those two guards, they've been through enough. They can will their team to victory. I think the bigger question is who's the best team in this league? Like, I mean, for at one point we thought, well, Illinois has got the most talent. They've dropped some games here. Is it Michigan? Is it Michigan State? Michigan State goes on the West Coast road swing. They go 0-2. Like who's going to Purdue sitting here saying, hey man, we're just going to keep chopping away. Just keep doing our job. Keep chopping away. Keep winning games. Keep winning games. All of a sudden, we'll be at the end of February here. Could be in first place. It's really impressive.
Imagine betting against like UCLA sitting right there too, with won 6 in a row and playing some of the best basketball in the conference. I want to hit you guys both on this because I think when we talk about Coach of the Year and talk about that conversation, it's generally speaking who is doing the most with the least expectations, right? Like what coach do we think was going to finish at the bottom of his league and now is finishing top 3, right? What coach do we think was going to be an NIT team and now they're sitting here like top 12 in America? I don't think it should be glossed over the coaching performance for Matt Painter this season. They lost a generational talent. Like Zach Edey is probably the best college basketball player that I've seen doing this. And I've been doing this. My first year doing this was in Tyler Hansbrough won his title, right? And he's right here in a position to win the Big Ten again. Like we got to put some respect on that, man. Like the job that he's done this year, Matt, I want your take, and then Tyler, you could take it too. The job that he's done this year should never, ever get overlooked. It's been an unbelievable coaching performance.
You know what? I had a conversation with him right after I was let go from UMass, and he said to me, he said, you know what? He's like, I'm fortunate because I had an athletic director and an administration that was patient. And when my first 5 years as a head coach, I didn't know who I was. I had no idea who I was. I was going to chase after all the McDonald's All-Americans and, go do this. And I had to figure out who I was and who I could coach and who I could, be the best version of myself and coach. He's got it figured out. Like his whole program, that is culture. When you lose the back-to-back National Player of the Year and you're sitting here and in mid-February, you're at the top of the Big Ten standings at 11-2. That's culture. Everyone wants to throw the term culture out. They want to throw it out, and we're going to be about this, and these are our core values, and whatever it may be. But when you lose a guy like Zach Edey, and the ship just keeps moving down, it keeps moving down, and everybody in your program knows all the things that you're about, that's culture, and no question about it. He should be Big Ten Coach of the Year. So should Tom Izzo. He should be in the same category. I know they had a tough week going on the West Coast road swing. But the fact that he's still doing it, and Tyler alluded to it earlier, just in terms of how hard they play, how tough they are, the things that they're about, it's impressive to see these two guys. You don't ever hear them complaining about transfer portal. You don't hear them complaining about NIL. They just coach their teams, and they're ball coaches. And it's really impressive.
Yeah, and I'll just piggyback off that. Matt Painter is one of my favorite coaches in college, and I saw him a few years ago, I think is at the tournament, and I went over and I said, I love watching your team play. And he's like, why is that? Because we go inside? I said, absolutely. And, he deserves to be in that conversation, and he is right there with anybody when you talk about Coach of the Year. And for me, as kind of an old school type of person, I love that he has hard practices. I love how he prepares. and you can see it through his team. And when they did lose to the 16th seed, I thought he handled the loss about as classy as anybody could. He stayed there after in the presser, answered everyone's questions, and then he comes back the next year and takes that team to the national championship game and gives them a chance to win it. And he has built culture there. He's put his stamp on that program, and he is up there with one of the best coaches. And, coach of the year candidates, he's right there with anybody. I think John Shire's up there. And there's another coach I really like, Calvin Sampson. I don't ever think he really gets the credit he deserves. I love watching Houston. I think Houston plays about as hard as any team in the country. And Pitino, I'd put all those guys in the coach of the year candidates.
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys that have done a really good job coaching this year. There's one guy that did not do a great job coaching this year, and he happens to be one of Purdue's rivals. That's Mike Woodson. We're going to talk about what is happening at Indiana and who could be the potential replacement for the Hoosiers coming up next. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description. Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. It is Friday night. We are live on YouTube. We're live on X, and we are simulcast over on Sirius XM, Channel 84. My name is Rob Dauster. I got Matt McCall with me. I have Tyler Hansbrough here. And guys, we got to talk about what's happening in Bloomington, what is happening at Indiana, what is happening at one of the most storied basketball programs in the country, Matt. And I think, for the people that haven't heard, the rumblings kind of started yesterday, I guess. Yesterday was Thursday. Yeah, yesterday, that there's a potential retirement, a potential parting of ways. You can kind of phrase it however you want. But the bottom line is a decision's been made by both parties that Mike Woodson will not be coaching the Indiana Hoosiers next season. We can talk about where it went wrong here in a second. But I'm curious how you view this, man. You've been in the coaching world. You've been in the coaching community. Where does Indiana stand as a job right now when you think about the resources that they have, but also the level of expectation that is there when you have not quite had that success in quite a long time? I'm just kind of curious, like what is the perception of that job kind of in that coaching community?
Look, once you're a blue blood and you've won multiple national championships, I don't think you lose your status. And Tyler played for a blue blood. So, when you think of the best college basketball programs in the history of college basketball, Indiana is in there. They're in there. And they have a fan base that continues to show up each and every game. The place is absolutely packed. They love when the I guess you would call it, what are the pinstripe pants come running out of the tunnel?
Candy stripers.
They love it. The candy stripers. They love the candy stripers. They love it. So I think for Indiana, just in terms of a job, we're seeing these coaches get recycled. And I'm not saying Mike Woodson was the right hire. I'm not saying he was the wrong hire, but clearly something was off and it didn't work. So where do they go from here? I think from an administrative standpoint, we have to kind of look internally of like, okay, Tom Crean, Tom Crean took over a program that was facing NCAA sanctions. They won, I think, 2 games in his first season. And then he wins, Big Ten championships, goes to the NCAA tournament every single year. They have a ton of success. They didn't win a national championship while he was here, but they still had a lot of success. They still won. And then it's like, okay, we're kind of tired of this coach. Let's move on from him. That didn't make a ton of sense at the time, but let's try somebody else. Then you bring in Archie Miller, who took Dayton to an Elite Eight, multiple NCAA tournaments. He had to manage a pandemic. People don't understand how hard that was to deal with as a coach. Everyone's like, oh, well, the pandemic year doesn't count. Yes, it does. Yes, it did. It counted for coaches. It counted for coaches that lost their job coming out of the pandemic. 100% that year counted. So Archie Miller's having to deal with that. Okay, we're going to move on from Archie Miller, and let's bring in Mike Woodson. So now we're on our 4th coach. What is that, in 7 or 8 years, whatever it may be? So from an athletic administrative standpoint, it's like, okay, we got to internally, like, where are we going wrong? And it's not just about plugging a coach in and thinking it's going to work. Plug the right coach in. Brad Stevens is not going to Indiana. I think we can all agree with that. The guy is the GM of the Boston Celtics, who just won a world championship. The guy's not coming there. So what direction is your program going in terms of the right fit, bringing in the right coach, not just to win a press conference? That's not what this is about, to win the press conference. It's to get Indiana back relevant to where they're competing for Big Ten championships and getting to Final Fours. But their blue blood status, you're not taking that away. You can't take that away. Can you add it to UConn? UConn's a blue blood, 1,000%. Men's and women's basketball, UConn is a blue blood. Nobody should take that. That is set in stone. But you don't get your status taken away. It's more of who's coming in. What is this administration doing to fix this, to get this right? Because it's been a while. It's been a while since they've been relevant.
Yeah, Tyler, let me ask you this. What are you looking for if you are Indiana as a coach? Are you looking for like a splashy big name where you can kind of say, look, we went and got Scott Drew from Baylor? Are you looking for a situation where you're maybe trying to find the next mid-major coach that could take that step up and turn this team into a juggernaut? Are you trying to find a former Indiana player, maybe like a Calbert Chaney or something like that, to try to do what like John Shire is doing at Duke, or what Hubert did his first year when he was at North Carolina? Like, what is the thought process here for you? I'm going to make you be the Indiana AD. All right, you just got a new job. No longer with the Field of 68. You're now Indiana's athletic director. Take me through your thought process if you were filling this role right now.
Well, first of all, I'm looking for a miracle. And second of all, I'm going to go talk to my fan base, and I would tell them, I would say, listen, if we're going to consider ourselves a blue blood, we're the least appealing blue blood out there. When you think of blue blood, UNC, UConn, Duke, Kansas, Kentucky, Indiana, that doesn't even feel right. When's the last Final Four? 2002, 23 years ago. So if we want to have,
I love when the blades come out. When Tyler decides he's not going to hold back, like he just does not.
But you can't lose your status, Tyler. You can't lose your status. You think you can lose your status?
I mean, NC State. I mean, are they a blue blood? I mean, they've won a couple chips. I think that Indiana is kind of hovering on that border right there. Now, if I'm the AD and I'm looking to hire somebody, first of all, I try to find a proven guy. And I try to find somebody who's had some success. Now, I know Shaka Smart. He was a guy I'd bring in for an interview. I feel like he's had a lot of success at Marquette. I realized that Texas, he didn't have the best success, wasn't really his thing. Went to Marquette. He's really turned them around. Greg McDermott, I think he would be a really good guy to bring in, see if he's interested in the job, if he wants to get out of Creighton. And then also Brad Brownell from Clemson. He's a guy who actually, he's had a lot of success recently, but also he was a little bit on the hot seat, and he was able to handle the pressure from the fan base, the AD, and then kind of flip that switch over at Clemson. Clemson's I know ACC's having a down year, but Clemson the past few years, they've been a force. And, I'd bring in somebody like him. I'd also take a look at Mick Cronin. And I know UCLA is kind of rolling right now, but I know it's been a little rocky over there, and I'd see if he was interested in the job. But to think that they're going to land somebody of the status of Brad Stevens, that's not going to happen. And Scott Drew didn't even take Kentucky. He didn't even consider Kentucky. He's not going to consider Indiana. So that's where I'd start if I was AD.
All it took was one meal at a local taco place for Scott Drew to decide that he's not going to Kentucky. So I don't think he's going to take Indiana. So I'm just going to throw like the big names that we've seen, right? Scott Drew, I don't think it's happening. Bruce Pearl, I don't think it's happening. I don't think Dusty May leaves Michigan after a year. And I need to see Indiana offer Chris Beard a contract, considering the baggage that he has, before I believe that he would. I think Beard would win a national championship at Indiana. I don't know if they would actually hire him. Goodman keeps saying that Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger would not take that job if he was offered that job. So we can cross him off the list. And then Nate Oates, Todd Golden, and Dennis Gates, from my understanding, have buyouts that are too big. So McCall, I'm putting this on you. We just crossed off a whole bunch of names that everyone's going to name because they're some of the best coaches in the sport. Get creative for me, man. Make a hire here. Maybe outside the box, maybe from the mid-major range. Like who do you think as a coach coaches their balls off that you think deserves a chance to get up there at Indiana and get that job?
Yeah, I think from an outside the box standpoint, I'm not saying go hire an NBA coach because they just did that and it didn't work. Mike Woodson, not having really been a college coach, spending his entire career in the NBA essentially. But, some of these NBA assistant coaches that are sitting on these benches, I mean, you look at the NBA and, the trend of hiring young coaches, hiring guys that may have been G League coaches that are spending the time. Mark Daigneault, prime example from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, he's got his team in first place in the West. He was the NBA Coach of the Year last year. And I'm not saying Mark Daigneault's going to take the Indiana job, not when he's doing the job that he's doing at Oklahoma City. But, like a trend like that, especially with how transactional college basketball has become. And a guy that has, spent some time dealing with that or spent some time on an NBA bench that's a younger guy that's hungry, that wants to come in, like Micah Shrewsbury did when he got his opportunity, at Penn State. And, I know there's been some struggles at, Notre Dame, but, he changed the trajectory of that Penn State program, once he got there and got it going in the right direction. So, I don't know if there's somebody out there like that. In terms of mid-major coaches, it's hard. As a young coach that doesn't have a ton of experience to go to that level where the expectations are through the roof. Yeah, you've had success at whatever school that you're at, but that's a different level. That's a different animal, and that's a different beast. So it'll be really interesting to see, who says no, because they're going to call them all. They're going to call all the big ones and shoot their shot like they should. They have to. They're Indiana. But I'm with Tyler just in terms of like when you think of Bloods, it's Kansas, it's Kentucky, it's and really in that category anymore because they haven't been for several years. They haven't been to the Final Four since 2002. It's been years since they won a national championship. So, you got to swing for the fences and make those calls and make everybody say no. And then you're going to have to get creative.
Yep. All right. I think Tyler mentioned Greg McDermott. He's a little outside the box. I think he's a little closer to wanting to spend his days golfing instead of coaching. But I do think that if you give him an opportunity to be able to have access to all of the shooters that are in the state of Indiana, that Greg McDermott would absolutely light it up at Indiana.
That they haven't had. That they haven't had. Like, are you kidding me? Like they haven't had Grant McCaslin. I like to pick. I like to pick to the hat.
Grant, I'm sorry, Texas Tech fans, take it as a sign of respect. Like Grant McCaslin is a very, very, very good coach. I don't know if he would leave for Indiana because of, there's a little bit of a fishbowl element to that job, but he would be a hell of a coach. Just some other guys that I think deserve to get named. Josh Schertz at Indiana State 2 years ago had them rolling. I know they just lost tonight to St. Joe's, but he's a really, really, really good coach and really smart coach. And then Drake's Ben McCollum. It might be too big of a step up too early, but that dude won like 5 national championships at a Division II program. He knows how to coach. He knows how to win basketball games. And I would not be surprised to see him in 5 years ranked in the top 10 with a high major program somewhere. So you might be able to cut the line and go and make a hire there. Real quick, McCall, we got like 2 minutes before we got to get to break, but we've already seen Virginia open. We've already seen Florida State open. We've seen Miami open. We're hearing stuff about Villanova. I don't think anything's going to happen in North Carolina this year, but like, let's just say this thing spirals and goes really bad. Like, you never know. This has the feel of a year where the coaching carousel could get crazy and could get wild.
I feel like we say this every year, though, but this year could be magnified just in terms of the level of jobs that are open already and that could come open. And, look at the state of Florida right now where I am in terms of, Miami's open, Florida State's open. We don't know what's going to happen at South Florida with the tragedy that happened, with Amir Abdur-Rahim, like that whole situation. I mean, you have 3 high-level jobs that are already open right now. So, it's going to spin out of control. It always does. But I go back to it. It's like, okay, if we're going to make a move on a coach, what direction are we going in? And is it going to set our program back, or is it going to jumpstart us? Is it a guy that just needs one more year to, continue to figure out who he is and continue to grow, continue to get better? Or it's year 3, it's not going well. Hey, man, we got to move in a different direction. Okay, who you getting? If you're these high major schools and you're going to cut a guy after 3 years, like who are you going out there and getting that you think is going to completely change the trajectory of your program?
Let me ask you this real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but you kind of alluded to this. You've been through it from both sides, right? You've been the guy at a job where you could feel the heat and you could feel the pressure. And you end up on Jeff Goodman's hot seat list, right? But you were also that the guy at Chattanooga that everyone was like, this guy's going to be next. Like, so as you are coaching these teams, how much do you hear that from both sides, right? Like, I'm sure that you can't ignore the buzz if you're doing a great job, right? And you can't ignore the pressure if it's not going the way that you want it to go. Like, how, as a coach, how do you kind of focus your team and focus on everything that you need to be focusing on instead of all the stuff that surrounds you?
It's much harder when it's going bad. Like, it's much harder because I think everybody that's a part of your program starts worrying about what's next. What's next for me? What job am I getting? You get, your staff, where am I going? What direction am I going in? It's much, much harder when it's going bad. When your back's up against the wall and it's like, okay, I'm going into this year and we've got to win 20, 21 games, 22 games, whatever it is, be at the top of the league standings to be able to, keep your job. And all of a sudden it starts going one way. To steer it back and get it back going in a positive direction is extremely difficult. Look, when you're winning and your name's being thrown out there for jobs, the only difficult part is talking to recruits and recruits' parents and telling them, no, there's no way you're going to leave. There's no way you're going to leave. No, I'm committed to this place. I'm committed to this school. I'm committed to here. I'm under contract at this school. That's the only distraction really, is the parents. Your players, look, everybody's on a 1-year deal anyway now with the transfer portal, with NIL. Everybody's on a 1-year contract. So if we're winning and we're having success, that's all. You're focused on that year and chasing the championship. It's much harder to manage when it starts going south and your back's against the wall.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate that insight, McCall. I didn't mean to bring up bad memories, but you are someone with a unique perspective when it comes to kind of the coaching industry in that angle.
Yes, I was on Jeff Goodman's hot seat. Yes, I was. Yeah.
You never bring it up either. You never mention it. When we get back, I'm going to ask our resident expert game picker, Tyler Hansbrough, to pick some of the biggest games on Saturday's college basketball slate. And, oh, by the way, there happens to be a pretty big game on Sunday night. I'm going to put these guys to the test, see which way they're leaning. Chiefs, Eagles, you'll find out coming up next. There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Hummel podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Well, welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. We are live, YouTube, Sirius XM, Channel 84. My name is Rob Dauster. I have Coach Matt McCall with me. I have the legend, Tyler Hansbrough, with me, and we're going to talk about some of the big games coming up this weekend. We are going to start in Auburn, Alabama. Matt McCall's Florida Gators are hitting the road, and they're taking on the number one team in college basketball. Matt, tell me what the Gators have to do to walk into Neville Arena and to knock off Bruce Pearl and the Tigers.
2007 Final Four flex chair. 2007
there you go.
National Championship Final Four flex. It's going to be tough. You know, we don't know. You know, Walter Clayton. You know, I know he's playing. I know they released a statement that he'll be in the lineup. They're going to need his offense because the jungle's going to be rocking. I think I saw the spreads 8. This is going to be tough for the Gators. They need those guards to be clicking on all cylinders. Elijah Martin's going to have to, you know, have an unbelievable performance along with Clayton to give them a chance in this one. I just, you know, with how Auburn's playing right now, you know, this is going to be a tough task for the Gators, no question, especially if they're not 100% healthy to knock off the best team in the country.
Tyler, what do you think?
I think Florida's going to have their best game all year. At Auburn, it's probably the toughest home environment in basketball right now. You can make that argument. Janai Broom's playing unbelievable. Auburn has it rolling. They're going to have to get a lot from not only Walter Clayton Jr., their big that's been playing really well. I can't think of his name, the sophomore who's a download presence. He's going to have a big game. He's going to have to find ways to control the board and keep Broom and Hardwell off the board.
Condon, you're talking about Alex Condon?
Yeah, Alex Condon.
Yeah, look, I think at this point that Auburn's getting ready to rip off and continue this roll, right? It feels like this Auburn team is going to be one of these teams that heads into the NCAA tournament like 2, maybe 3 losses. And I just don't see them losing in their own gym at any point this season. Big picture, Matt, like what do you – not just Florida, but like overall, what is the key to stopping Auburn? Like, how do you beat them? You have a team with the guards that are this good, that can make these kind of shots, that can board the way that they can board, that can guard the way that they can guard. And oh, by the way, they happen to have a dude by the name of Janai Broom.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a secret to success in terms of trying to slow them down. You know, one, you got to hope that they miss some shots, but you know, we talked about St. John's in terms of them defensively and their identity on the defensive end of the floor. You know, this Auburn team, they just play so hard, especially at home. Like they play so hard. They're so physical. And just when you think you have them beat, the ball's in Broom's hands and he makes a step back 3 from the corner. When your power forward or your 5-man is doing that, it's one of those like tip your hat. Like how are you going to do, you know, how are you going to stop that? There's no defense that can slow that down. So I think it's one of those things you got to hope you make perimeter jump shots. You got to try to win the rebounding battle, and you got to try to win the free throw margin. Get to the foul line more than them. Try to put more pressure on the paint than them. The rebounding margin is a huge stat in the game, and you cannot turn it over. You cannot have live ball turnovers. Live ball turnovers on the road in an environment like that for the Gators tomorrow, it'll destroy you. You can get run out of the building. And I think Florida's really, really good. I'm not taking anything away from the Gators. I would say this about any team that's walking into that environment. The number one thing I'm going up and writing on the board is take care of the ball. The second thing, win the rebound margin. If you do those two things, you give yourself a chance. If you don't do either one of those, it could be a long night.
Mm-hmm. Tyler, guns up. Texas Tech on the road at Arizona. A battle for first place.
What a hat.
In the
What a
Big 12.
hat.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a great
big
hat.
hat.
It's a great hat. Battle for first place in the Big 12. Who you got?
Since it's at Arizona, I'm going to go Arizona. My guy, Caleb Love, I think he's going to have a big game. It might take him a lot of shots to have a big game, but he's willing to do that. So I got to give my Tar Heels some love. I'm going to roll with Arizona on this one.
Yep. All right. Real quick, Matt. Arizona, Texas Tech.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about UCLA being one of the hottest teams in the country. This Arizona team's arguably right there with them. I mean, I'm gonna roll with Tyler Hansbrough. You said he's one of the best ever at picking games. I mean, his man John Henson, his former Carolina, not teammate, but front court guy, is pretty good at picking them too. But I'm gonna roll with Tyler on this one.
All right, real quick, guys. We've got about 90 seconds left here. Toasts of the night. McCall, I'm going to you first. Who are you toasting on this night of college basketball?
Give me the Johnnies. RJ Lewis, Rick Pitino going in that environment and finding a way to win that game. Because I covered the A-10, I almost went with VCU going into that environment at Dayton and finding a way. Coach Odom is another name that's going to be kicked around for some of these jobs. I don't want to take him away from VCU, but give me the Johnnies tonight.
Tyler, toast of the night.
I'm probably going to steal yours, Dauster. I'm going Braden Smith. We gave him a lot of love. I'm going to give him some more. Carrying his team, Purdue, they're doing big things. Deserves a lot of credit. That's my toast of the night.
Toast of the night. Cheers to Braden Smith. I'm going a little bit off the radar here. They didn't actually play tonight, but Omaha is 9-1 in the Summit League. They had a game-winning 3 from J.J. White last night. But my toast is going to go out to my guy, Cayenne Brown. I've known him for like 15 years. One of the best dudes in college basketball, is going viral now.
Flex Omaha.
It's on SportsCenter.
Flex Omaha.
Because
Flex Omaha.
After every win, he beats up a trash can, and they video it and they post it, and everyone loves it. So shout out to Cayenne Brown. Toast to him. Listen, jump into the chat, ask us some questions. We're going to stay over on YouTube and on X. We're going to be streaming. It is the Afters, and that will be coming up here as soon as we're done on SiriusXM. So for Matt McCall, for Tyler Hansbrough, see you tomorrow night, 11 p.m. We're live. It's the Afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
It's the Afters, baby. You know what that means. You know what that means, McCall.
That's not a court.
It's time to get loose. We got some questions. We got about I got 4 questions written down here right now. So hey, McCall, by the way, this is a nice little double IPA. It's called Heavy Topper right there for you. It's from the state, the great state of Vermont.
We only go Coors Light around here. We only go Coors Light.
Yeah, I know. McCall, this one goes to you first. Is St. Joe's the most dangerous team in the Atlantic 10?
Oof. Yeah, the Atlantic 10 is the most difficult league to figure out right now. It is the most difficult league. You look at what Dayton did out in Maui. They averaged 85 points per game out there. They've struggled since league play has started. They had that game won tonight against VCU. They find a way to lose. I think VCU is by far the best team in the league for them to go on the road and find a way to win that game. But St. Joe's is dangerous. When you look at their backcourt and you have guys that, like Eric Reynolds, that we know how good he is, how talented he is. Another guy, in terms of expectations, sometimes that's the hardest thing to deal with, but they are dangerous. There is no question about it. If they cut the nets down in DC, I don't think any of us would be shocked with how good they are. And I think you could attest to that, Rob.
Yes. Yeah. I love Eric Reynolds. Shout out to Derek Simpson. He's from Lenape High School. He's a local kid here. We're gonna have a meet and greet. The basketball, my son's basketball team that I coach, we're gonna have a chance to go down to a St. Joe's game. Everyone here is gonna get a picture with Derek Simpson. It's gonna be awesome. They seem pretty open to it. So shout out to St. Joe's there. I'll be rooting for him, man. You got a hometown kid on the team, you got to be rooting for those guys. So nice win. VCU picked up at Dayton today. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second, McCall. But Tyler, this this question is for you, and I don't know if you're the right person to ask this question to, but it came in from the chat from my guy TK, and the question is: will Kendrick Lamar sing "Not Like Us" at the halftime show of tomorrow night's Super Bowl?
Well, if he doesn't, then I don't know what other song he would sing. So it would just be appropriate. I can't name another Kendrick Lamar song, but it seems like that one's been on repeat for the past year. So I really hope he does.
All right,
Luther?
I'm gonna
Luther. That's another one. Luther.
Yeah, right. I like Good Kid, Mad City was a great album. Tyler, top 5. No, you know what? We'll go the number 1 artist for you that you would want to see on a Super Bowl halftime show right now. Who would it be?
Ooh.
Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones. I grew up. Wow. The only reason I say that, and I know this is going to throw a lot of people off, I grew up a huge Rolling Stones fan just because my dad used to love them and played all their music. So I know all their songs. I'm a big Mick Jagger fan.
That one threw me off. I was expecting like a Luke Combs, maybe a Morgan.
Hey,
Wallen.
That's not a bad option there either. I went to a Luke Combs concert not so long ago. Unbelievable artist. Love him.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw Chris Stapleton out there too, McCall. Chris Stapleton at a halftime show.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, not a bad one, but I mean, we're trying to keep the vibes going. I mean, a couple years ago when it was like Eminem and all the guys went out there, that was the best halftime show ever. I'm sorry.
Well,
that was
it's
so
perfect
elite.
for guys our age because I'm sitting there like, here we go.
So elite. When Eminem,
I knew every one of those songs, and then Kendrick Lamar comes on, and Tyler was like, "What are we doing here? Who is this guy?"
Yeah, we don't know.
I thought that was overrated, McCall. I'll be honest. I'll
come
on. I mean, everyone
Tyler.
just universally saying it was good. I'm not wrong. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't life changing.
Hey, we're talking to the guy who thinks cold cuts suck. Okay, if everybody likes something, Tyler is going to hate it. I think I've kind of figured that out. Unless it's a center, Tyler likes all big guys. But if anybody likes anything else, Tyler's anti it. We just got a question in the chat from I can't remember who it was. Sorry, I didn't write down your name. But they want to know is that Joaquin Noah's chair that you're sitting on right now, McCall? Whose chair are you? Whose chair did you get from the 07 title game?
It was mine. I mean, I had the first chair on the bench. It was mine. It was me. There was the empty chair that when the players came out of the game, they had to sit in and they would get yelled at by Coach Donovan. And then it was the assistant coaches. No, this was my chair. Man, it was my chair.
How did you tell me the story? How did you get it from the arena? Did you just grab it and run?
No,
or did they let you have it?
Come on. I'm not a thief. I would not steal it.
I would have.
I think
I absolutely
both years. So in 2006, my chair, which you can't see in my office, it's signed by the entire team. That's what I did. The athletic department, they got you a chair. Like that was the deal. I mean, I've got the 2006 national championship chair, 2007, 2014 Final Four chair, a couple other ones. But no, this was a gift from the athletic department after we won it all.
All right, so this question comes from Josh Carter. We appreciate the super chat. His question is, you have a choice right now. You can either take anyone from the SEC or you can take the field to win the national championship this year, Tyler. So you can either have an SEC team or the field. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the field. And the reason I say that is because I would actually give a slight edge to Duke as the leader right now. I saw them in Cameron. I was working the game, UNC radio. Guys, they are good, and they're much better than I thought, and they have length. And the reason I say that is because Duke has length that can match up with Auburn. Auburn is a big team, but Duke is also the lengthiest team in college right now. The Maluwatch kid down low, the 7'2" guy, contests everything at the rim. Cooper Flagg, athletic, has length as well. and the Con-Knipple kid is much bigger than I anticipated, and they play hard. So I would take the field.
McCall?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that. Look, I think Auburn's the best team in the country, but there's just so many other good teams. I think when you look at college basketball, especially last season, it was UConn and Purdue, and they end up playing in the national championship. Like those were the two best teams. We were saying it all year. This season, I think there's a number of different teams that we would say if Kansas cuts down the nets, we wouldn't be really surprised. I know they've had their struggles, recently or, whatever happened, been a little bit up and down. None of us would be surprised. If Duke does it, none of us would be surprised. So to pick one league this year, even though it is the best league in the country, there's no question about it. You cannot argue that. But the Big Ten's really good. The Big 12's really good. Duke in the ACC. We'll see, St. John's in the Big East. I think it's hard to say pick one league against the entire field. So I'm going to –
I'll do it.
I think
I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy. Give me Auburn. Give me Tennessee. Give me Florida. Give me Alabama. Give me Texas A&M. Give me Ole Miss. Give me Missouri. Give me Kentucky. Like I'll do it. I'll take the SEC. I'll go up against you two clowns. All right. 2 more questions, and we're going to get out of here. Is the funniest thing, McCall, I'm going to you first on this one, is the funniest thing that could happen on Saturday Michigan going into Indiana and losing by 20?
It's the funniest thing. Like,
I think
is the funniest thing.
That'd be pretty funny. Dusty May taking his Michigan team in there as everyone in the crowd is chanting Dusty, Dusty, and then he gets blitzed by Indiana. That'd be pretty funny.
I don't know. That's so funny. You can make an argument right now. He has a better job. You could make that argument right now. He has the better job, and he's doing a heck of a job. When we talk about Big Ten coaches of the year, I mean, he's going to be in the category.
Got to be there.
There's no question about it. The way that they recruited, the way he utilizes those 2 front court players and how they play together, he's got to be in the category. No, I don't know if it's the funniest thing. I don't know. They look, Michigan's competing for a Big Ten championship. They need to go in there and just find a way to get a win. If it's by a half a point, doesn't matter. Find a way to win the game. So the funniest thing on Saturday? No, the funniest thing is going to be, if someone hits a half-court shot and, Jay Williams has to pay somebody, $100,000 on College game day or whatever it may be. I don't know.
Just make sure their toes are on the half-court line, McCall. I think you might get that reference. So, yeah, I know you'll get that reference. Tyler, is Creighton a top 10 team in college basketball today?
You know what? I would put them right. Oh man, they're hovering that. No, I think they're outside looking in. I really do. Even though I like Kalkbrenner, I think he's unbelievable defensive presence. I don't see them in the top 10 right now, but they could be it then when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. Last thing, guys, Super Bowl Sunday night. I'm not going to see you on the show until after the Super Bowl is played. I need your official predictions now. McCall, who you got? Who is winning the Super Bowl and who's winning Super Bowl MVP?
I just don't see how you pick against the Chiefs, especially if it's a close game. We know what's going to happen if it's a close game. We saw it against the Bills, leading up into the Super Bowl. So I don't know how you pick against the Chiefs. I think Mahomes is Super Bowl MVP. We'll see if Travis Kelce decides to retire and go marry Taylor Swift, but I just think it's going to be really, really hard to pick against those guys. Three-peat, get it done, dynasty, whatever you want to call them. I just can't. I cannot pick against them.
Is he? So are you saying that the Chiefs are going to win a three-peat and then Travis Kelce on the 50-yard line is dropping to a knee, pulling out the ring, proposing to Taylor Swift?
Bet on it. Sure. Then we don't have to see her in the box anymore, please. Like, we're moving on. It's on to football again, please.
Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going with the Eagles, and I was going to pick the Chiefs until McCall went on that rant. The Eagles are going to go out there, and they're going to kick the Chiefs' ass. Travis Kelce is going to be crying after the game, hugged up with Taylor Swift. And then the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is not going to win the MVP. It's going to be A.J. Brown, a big receiver. And that's a big bet out there. So go ahead and place your bets on the Eagles and A.J. Brown MVP.
Look, I think the Eagles win. I'm going Saquon. Saquon's going to run for like 225, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts going to get a couple tush pushes. We're going to see.
Cannot wait
I'm
to
going
text
to
you guys on Sunday.
Yeah,
I
I'm going to
can't
see.
wait.
There's going
I
to be like.
cannot wait.
I'm going to say
excited.
that the Eagles force 3 fumbles, right? And they find a way to be able to get this win. Not going to have to worry about it, McCall. It's not going to be a close game. Birds get it done.
Yeah, because we know what's going to happen if it's a close game. We know what's going to happen if it's a close game.
You know.
Okay, 4th and 1.
You
They
got to
didn't
be up
get
by
it.
30.
Wave it off. Wave it off. They didn't
You
get it.
got to be up by 30.
If it's a close
You gotta be
game,
up by
you have
30.
no shot. 0 chance.
All right, listen, guys. This is fun. You know, we got a lot out of a game that a night where there were like 2 or 3 really good games to talk about. So I appreciate you being here. For Tyler Hansbrough, for Matt McCall. Tune in tomorrow night, 11 p.m. Field of 68 after dark. It'll be Jeff Goodman, Mike LaTulip, and myself. We will see you guys tomorrow night at 11 o'clock.